Okay, class, picking up where we left off at, we multiply everything by 7 over 1, and that left us x is less than or equal to 35. Now, we need to write that as a solution set. Okay, now we want to graph this. Now, again, I want to switch that color. As you see, I did a closed circle on 35, and it's less than. Okay, now we go here to H. Now, if you look here to H has a lot more to it than the other problems had, but we still would be able to solve this nonetheless. So now we're going to solve this like we did an equation. So first of all, let's get rid of these parentheses. We have negative 6x plus 3 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 12x minus 8 minus 9. Now we combine our like terms. Negative 6x minus 2x is a negative 8x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 12x negative 8 minus 9 is a minus 17. Now, we'll subtract 12x on both sides. So we'll have negative 20x plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 17. Now we will subtract 3 on both sides. And we will have negative 20x is greater than or equal to negative 20. Divide each side by negative 20. And we will have x. We have to change the direction of the inequality is less than or equal to positive 1. Now we want to write this as a solution set. So we have the solution set of x is less than or equal to 1. Now we want to graph that. Now, since we have it as or equal to, we will do a closed circle, and then we will go to the left and draw our arrowhead, and we're done. Now, we need to go on to this next example. It says here, solve the three-part inequality. Now we look here at this three-part inequality. I'm going to rewrite this so we will have a little bit more space. Now, what we need to do is this here. We typically start in the center and work our way out because we're trying to have x by itself. So we will subtract 1 here, subtract 1 here, and subtract 1 here. You subtract 1 on all three sides. So to be negative 4 is less than 2x, which is less than 2. Now we divide all three terms by 2. Because remember, we're trying to get x by itself. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Is less than, these 2's will simplify out, leave you x is less than 1. So now we need to graph this. Now remember, we need negative 2. I always like to include a 0 and also 1. Now if you notice that both of these values here, none of them are or equal to. So we will have an open circle on negative 2, open circle on 1. Now this is x is greater than negative 2 but less than 1. So we will connect these values. And we're done. Now we come to our next value. It says solve the compound inequality. Now I did not ask us to graph it, but I'm still going to graph it anyway so you can see what the graph looks like. So we need to add 5 on all three sides. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2, which is less than 2x, which is less than 12. We divide all three sides by 2. So we have 1 is less than x, which is less than 6. Now we need to graph this. Now, since this is not or equal to, we will put our open circles here. And then we will connect them because x is in between 1 and 6. Okay, now we move on. It says example. Marcy has received grades of 65%, 75%, and 80% on the 3 tests given during the semester. What percent will she have to earn on the final to earn at least a B for the course? The final counts twice as much as a regular test, and 84% is a B. Now, this is what we would do. We would take these percentages, which is 65%, we would add 75%, add 80%, and then the final is worth 2 test grades, which we don't know, so it'll be 2x. And we need, when we add these values up, we need them to be, and actually before we add them up, we have to divide it by 5. And we need that to be greater than or equal to the 84%. Now, the reason why we have greater than or equal to is because they said at least a B. So to get at least a B, you need 84%. So it could be 84% or higher because they said at least. So now what I'm going to do throughout the duration of this problem until we get to the final answer, I'm going to get rid of the percent signs. We know we're dealing in percent. So at the end, we will put the percentage at the end. So here, let's combine the like terms here. 65 and 75 is 140, plus 80 is 220, plus 2x over 5 is greater than or equal to 84. Now we need to get rid of this 5 from the denominator. So we'll multiply both sides by 5, or this whole inequality by 5. This will leave us 220 plus 2x is greater than or equal to 420. Now we will subtract 220 on both sides. So we add 2x is greater than or equal to 200. Now we'll divide each side by 2. And x is greater than or equal to 100. So, since we know the score needs to be 100, we know that Marcy needs 100% or higher on the final exam to get at least a B out of the course. Let me rewrite a couple of these letters here. And this is the final answer. Marcy needs 100% or higher on the final exam to get at least a B out of the course. Now, come to our next example. It says rent a heap. Agency charges $125 per week plus 20 cents per mile to rent a small car. Suppose you are limited by how much money you can spend for the week. You can spend at most $335. How many miles can you travel if you spend at most $335? I took the liberty of writing out the formula here. It'll be $125, which is your flat rate, and 20 cents, and then we'll let X be the mileage. Must be less than or equal to $335 because that's the most you can spend. So you can spend that amount or less. So now we need to solve for x. So we'll subtract 125 on both sides. So we have 0.20x is less than or equal to 210. We divide each side by 0.20. And x is less than or equal to, this would be 1,050 miles. So, at most, you can travel 1,050 miles with $335. And that is the final answer. Now we come to our next problem. Well, actually, that is the last problem, and we're done.